Okay, so skydiving was the least scary thing I did in April. Okay, so hey guys. Um it's good to be back on camera again and just giving you guys an update. So in April 2021, I did a lot of things that I've never done before. One of those things being skydiving, one of those things being getting a tattoo, which I'll show you guys later. um anyways, like this month has been so crazy because I really just challenged myself. I didn't hold back and I tried to do things that I felt like were meaningful. I did things that I thought were interesting and also were things that were difficult, you know? I didn't try to take the easy route. So it wasn't a vacation, that's for sure. Okay, so let's see. So here's the list. I actually put this together earlier. Okay. All right, so let's start with skydiving, okay? Just because it's the first on the list. In terms of the scary things I did, this was the least scary. And the reason for that, I think, is because, skydiving, you have a parachute. So unless the parachute malfunctions, then it becomes scary. But if that's not the case, and, I did tandem, which is kind of lame, but it's okay. If you have the parachute, like, you're not gonna die. So the most you're gonna experience is just a lot of anxiety, which I didn't really have much when I was on the plane because I don't know, I kind of just expected like it was gonna be a good experience, but it wasn't scary, and so that's why I have it at number one. Okay, so let's go up in terms of how scary it is. The second one is killing insects with my bare hands. I've always been scared of bugs, since I don't know why, my parents aren't scared of bugs at all because, they grew up in China with a lot of insects. And me, I just turned out to be a bitch. Like, I just turned out to be so scared of, like, whether it's spiders or cockroaches. I hate cockroaches, and for the longest time, I did something really pathetic, is I got a handheld vacuum cleaner. Okay, hold on, let me grab it. I literally just use this, okay, to vacuum the insects. Okay, so like, I mean, in terms of level of patheticness, I think that ranks pretty high. So now I told myself, like, one day when I start a family, I'm not gonna be the guy that lets his wife or his kids kill the insects for him, So I started killing these insects. The spider, like a really big, like, fly ant thing the other day. I don't know how I'm gonna fare against those millipedes because I've seen one of those. Those guys are huge, and those guys are super fast too. But the thing is, like, okay, with my bare hands, I use a paper towel, so it's not really my bare hands, but at least I'm like killing it. They still scare me though. I mean, in my defense, I'm not scared by like rats or snakes or heights or even the dark. Like, the other kind of phobias, they don't scare me. But insects, oof. Okay, so that's number two. Number three is throwing out over $2,000 worth of items. It could have, I think it's more than like 3,000, but I threw out like 70% of my clothes. All my office clothes that I used to wear. When I was a nice and friendly Excel crunching numbers guy back in New York, like, I had so many office shirts that I threw out because I was just looking at them and they were just all like these typical white collar kind of office working style, and I wanted to cry. Like, I was like, I'm never gonna wear this again, like, never. I don't care. Like, if I ever have to wear this again, please kill me. Let's just put it that way. Um, and then like I threw out like all my fuel because I've been on my all meat diet, all beef diet, sorry, which I will talk about later. But Huel, like I threw out like literally unopened bags of Huel, which are each like $45, you know? So, and the reason I did that was because I was looking at my closet and I was like, there's just too much stuff here, you know? Just toss it. Part of me wanted to give it to my parents because like, you know, let them try it out or something. But then I was like, you know, I'm not gonna burden my parents with my trash, you know? Um, and I threw out like what? A lot of other stuff like my old calculators, some GoPro, some Fitbits, you know, these are just devices basically. Throughout like some music stuff that I know I'm never going to use again. A lot of cables. I actually have a whole list, but I'm not going to go into detail. But basically like throwing out all these stuff, right? Knowing that like if I had sold it or knowing how much I paid for them, right? It was definitely against my usual hoarding mentality. Like I've been a hoarder my whole life, right? But it just got to the point where it's like what am I afraid of? Like, okay, so one time I threw out like a bunch of these pads that were like for my car. And then the next day I was like, oh, I should have kept them because now I wish I took off my shoes and now I wish I had the pads under my feet. So, but then that was like, whatever. It's like, yes, there might be a case where I will throw out something that I need, but it's more often than not that the things I throw out are just never going to be used again, you know? Bye bye. And so, yeah, that was kind of, I think it was a good decision, you know? Okay, so the next one is getting a tattoo. Okay, so, you know, we're going up in terms of how scary it is. Getting a tattoo, I don't think it's that scary, right? But it's like the idea of like doing something permanent to your body that, you know, I'm like very indecisive person, right? So I was like, you know what? Let me just do this for real. So I'm going to show you guys now. This is my tattoo. And, you know, it says courage, which I think is a really important word. Especially for me as a man, right? I think every guy needs to have courage. And it's something that I have lacked or struggled with my whole life. So I was like, I'm keeping this. I'm keeping this. Oh, actually, you know what? Let me make the camera bigger so you guys can see it in full detail. Oh my god, I'm so happy with this. It's still very fresh. I literally just got it today, so I'm so happy about it. I'm just like so super excited about it. Okay. So next thing in terms of scariness is this doing a plank, but for like a really long time, right? So like anyone can do a plank for like a minute or like 2 minutes. You know, those lengths, you're not like dying, right? You're not like screaming your head off. But if anyone here has done a plank, you know that it gets exponentially harder the longer you hold it, right? And the reason for that is because, I don't know, your mind is just like screaming at you, like, you know, like let loose, you know, just fall. And so I actually have a video proof that I did a 7-minute plank. Although I was aiming for 10, but yeah, it's really hard. And you know, the more you do it, the less scary it becomes. But I think doing a plank for that long is definitely takes a lot out of you. You know, I would definitely rather jump out of a plane like 10 times than do one like 10-minute plank, you know, because a 10-minute plank, ooh, that's hard. Actually, you know, I would physically die before I would be able to accomplish that. I'll have to work up to it, you know. Okay, here we go. Now let's get to the juicy part. I think this is probably what most people clicked for. So this month I started doing something called pickup. And the reason for that is because, okay, well, I mean, I'm a single guy, right? So it's like, what are the ways for a guy for a man to find a girlfriend? Let's see. The first is like, like an app like Tinder or Hinge, right? Or one of those dating apps. So that's probably like the most popular right now, especially because of COVID, right? But I told myself like I'm not gonna go on the app because it's too easy. Like you're just swiping, right? You're literally just swiping, and if you match with a girl, you get to talk to her. Like there's just no risk. You're not taking any risk. Like if you match, they like you, right? You're not putting yourself out there. It's still the way it's probably the best way to find a girl today in 2021 because everyone's using it. But it's not the way that I wanted to go with. Okay, so another way to find a girl is like, getting introduced by your friends or your family, or like, if you're taking classes together, then you can try to like have a study break together. I mean, believe me, when I was in school, I thought about that kind of stuff. It's like, how do you get close to the girl that you're crushing on, right? So those methods, I feel like they're all good. I mean, they're all fine, socially acceptable, but none of them require you to take much risk. So now I'm gonna talk about what I did. Basically, I just cold approached girls like on the street, in the mall or in the restaurant or in some shop, or while like visiting a tourist attraction. And that, in my opinion, is like it's like the most manly way of getting a girlfriend because you're putting yourself out there. You're facing rejection, right? And believe me, there's definitely rejection. I mean, even someone with my amazing no, just kidding. Even like I think anyone, if you're gonna put yourself out there in the world, right, you're gonna face a lot of rejection. I think this is the manliest, the most masculine way of finding a girl. And I actually didn't do that bad. I actually got quite a few numbers, quite a few Instagrams, and I don't think I messaged like 50% of them back because, for whatever reason, I just felt like the vibe was off, or, some other reason. But the whole point was more like, because I mean, all the guys can relate. It's like, if you're, in the subway, or if you're in like a coffee shop and you see a girl that you want to talk to, right? You feel like this really, really tense feeling in your heart, and then you just like debate, oh, how should I say? What should I say? And then sometimes the moment just disappears and then you never see her again. And then you're just like, oh, if only I had been brave enough, right? So I think doing pickup is it's so hard, but it's so like, it's such a rewarding feeling to know like that I'm capable of doing it, So I did that a lot actually, because it was a good chance to actually explore. I explored a lot of parks. I explored a lot of like cities. I went to Baltimore. I went to DC. And so including pickup within like that whole exploration kind of process just made it all so much more interesting. It's one thing to just go to the mall to like buy a pair of jeans, right? It's another thing to go to the mall and try to like get like 3 phone numbers, which is a lot, which is really hard. And also I didn't actually approach like maybe 98% of females that I saw, like, because obviously, age range, body type, like I have a preference, right? So I only approach girls that I would reasonably date, right? So that's very narrow, very small pool of actual, women, and especially in Baltimore. Okay, Baltimore, where I live right now, it's really scarce. Like the options are really, really scarce. I mean, even when I was using those dating apps like Tinder and Hinge, it was scarce. Believe me, really scarce. Especially for an Asian guy like myself. So just so you guys know, like it is tough for Asians, especially in the dating market. The dating market, I don't even know what that means. So like non-Asian girls are, I think, less likely to go out with an Asian guy than they are to go out with any other race, I think. Okay, and they did like one of those race studies for one of those dating apps like OkCupid, and they found out like Asian guys have the toughest, you know. So it is hard. I'm not complaining though, because honestly, honestly, it's still harder for a woman. You know, for women, it's even harder. Honestly, having done a lot of code approaches and also just like, you know, having been in relationships myself, I know that dating for women is much harder. In my opinion, it's actually easier to do code approach than to be a girl and trying to find like someone to marry, because as a girl you pretty much have no choice but to wait for some guy to come and talk to you, you know. And that's the way it is. And it's tough because sometimes, you know, what if the guy that you want to talk to doesn't come, right? It's very tough. And a lot of times the kind of guy that the girl is attracted to is not the kind of guy who will end up like wanting to be with her. Does that make sense? Anyways, okay, so that was number 6, you know, which I thought was pretty difficult, but in fact there is something even more scarier. And that is number 7, going to a club by myself. Okay, so I was visiting DC, and you know, to just kind of like, you know, take a look around and stuff. And then at night I was like, oh, let me go check out this EDM club. I haven't been to a club in like 2 years. You know, when I was in New York, I used to go. But back in New York, I always went with friends, you know? So if you go with your friends, then it's a fun experience. If you like the music, then it's always fun. But going by myself was a totally different experience because first of all, you know, the club itself it was one of those clubs where it wasn't like super dark. So it was one of those like VIP lounge kind of clubs where every group had like a table, right? And so if you didn't have a table, you were kind of just like standing by yourself in like the open area, which is really embarrassing. Like so the first night I went, I somehow got in, and then I realized that I made a mistake because everyone else was part of a group and I wasn't, right? So I was the only guy, like besides the servers, obviously, who were walking around. I was literally the only guy who was standing there by himself, and it was so embarrassing. Like I wanted to cry, but I still stood there for like, I still stayed. I still like wandered around. I tried to talk to some people, but like when you're there by yourself, people can tell that you're there by yourself, and then they don't want to talk to you. Okay, I mean, it's a very judgmental atmosphere. Let's be real. Anyone who has been to a club, they know it's judgmental. And also, I was like the only Asian guy there, the only Asian actually. So that's embarrassing. But then the next day, I was like, you know what? Not gonna let that be the end of me. So I went back, and then this time I was like, you know what? Let me make friends with people outside, like before I go inside. And that was a pretty humbling experience too, because, you know, a lot of people, they go to the club, they're not trying to like, you know, make friends with a random guy, right? Before they go in, you know, but I still did it, and I found some friends. And so boom, the second night I was part of a group, and then I made friends with a bunch of people, and it was awesome, you know? And then we actually, you know, went to the after party afterwards, and it was good. Like although I resisted every single thing they offered me. I resisted alcohol, I resisted drugs, okay? I resisted food. The only thing I took was water, or seltzer water. And that's due to my extreme diet, which I'll talk about later. And then, so the next week, I actually went back, and I did it 2 more times. So every night, just finding a new group of people that I didn't know before, and then just boom, being like, hey, can I join your group? You know? And then that was actually a really, really cool experience. Like in one night, I would make more friends, or at least more acquaintances, than I would make in 1 year in Baltimore. Yeah, so it was a good experience. When I was in New York, right? New York has tons of clubs, right? But I was always scared, you know? And the few times that I would go, I would always be in the corner, just like hanging out by myself, or like randomly talking to like one person. and then I would just be so like in my own shell and not able to, make friends or dance or do anything because I was just embarrassed. I was embarrassed about my own existence. Like, what am I doing here? And I would always leave like super early because I would just be like, oh, screw this. I'm gonna go home and play video games and practice piano, and so this was a fear that I had for many years, that the feeling of never feeling like I belonged, and I wanted to overcome that. So for me, this was very good. And it turns out like people in the club, yes, they are judgmental, especially girls. Okay, girls who are super nice during the day, right? Like in a coffee shop or whatever, turn into the biggest like banshees at night. It's very hard. So the guys are much cooler, much better to talk to them. But still, like once you establish that you're not like there by yourself, you're not like a weirdo, then like you can talk to girls. It gets easier. Yeah. I mean, I understand, there's a lot of creepy guys in the nightlife, Okay, so number 8, the scariest thing, I think, is kind of like a culmination of everything I talked about above. So what is the common theme of everything I talked about above? It is doing things that forces me out of my comfort zone, and in the process killing that bubble that my ego has created for myself. So if you guys don't know what ego is, right? Ego is just like that kind of like self-protection mechanism that I've had for many years, which was always like, okay, I don't want to put myself out there, I don't want to take a risk, I don't want to get rejected, I want to have everything under my control, and I want to be comfortable at home playing piano or playing video games and not risk like, getting rejected, or not risk going to a strange environment with like lots of random people, and, not risk something uncomfortable, right? Like even doing a plank, it's like when you're doing a plank, it starts off easy. And then the minute it turns hard, the ego is like screaming, like, no, like, stop. We can do anything else but this, just anything else. And so I think stepping out of my comfort zone was what I felt like was the most valuable. So I promised myself this month that I would not do anything that I cannot talk about or am ashamed of sharing. So the reason why is, I'm a YouTuber, right? So I'm going to share stuff about my life, but I don't ever want to get on the live stream, and then while I'm playing piano and talking to the audience, be like, oh, actually, yesterday I did something that I'm not proud of. I don't want to share it. I didn't do any of that. Even in terms of like my communications with people, right? With the girls that I picked up, right? I didn't text anything that I wouldn't be willing to just share with the whole world. Like, I don't care if you guys read my texts because I know I texted honorably during that whole time. Does that make sense? And I wasn't a creep about it. Something I realized is that, I don't want to have an ego. I don't want that ego to exist anymore. I want to kill it. I want to slaughter it every day. And the way to do that, I think, is to just put myself out there every day. Step outside of my comfort zone and do something that's just totally outside of my ability or my current ability, right? And to challenge myself, and to get rejected. Face rejection. I don't want to be rejected. And I think that's really important. Is that, if I'm going to these, events or these places with the idea that, I just want to get rejected by everyone, then I think that's wrong too. That's also like, that's also kind of lame, to be honest. Instead, I'm going to these places with the expectation that I want to fit in, that I want to make friends or get a girl's phone number or, do something properly, but still be willing to face the failure, right? So I think that's an attitude that's very hard to maintain. It's very easy to either go the direction of like being super negative and be like, oh, everything's gonna fail, or like the other direction, which is like, oh, I'm so cool, I can do anything, right? Which is obviously not the case, but that's kind of like what happens when you drink alcohol, right? Like you drink a bunch of alcohol and you're like, oh, I can do anything. I can talk to anyone. I don't know. For me, I just think like, being able to stay in the middle, like do everything completely sober and contend with the world is the hardest thing. It's one of the scariest things. Okay. Whew, that was a lot of talking. So what else did I do? So those were the scary things. And then I did a lot of stuff that I don't consider scary. But still I think are meaningful. So I started walking dogs. There's like this animal shelter that's nearby. It's there are no kill shelter. So every dog they get, they don't ever euthanize. So they try to hold on to that dog until it can be adopted by someone. What that means is they do get a lot of dogs that sometimes people don't want to adopt, right? And so, but they will never kill. They will never kill. So I think that's a really noble goal. And I mean, I've never owned any pets in my life. I mean, I don't think hamsters count, but I just, volunteer there. Whatever, just like an hour or so every day, just walking the dog. I started doing ballroom dancing, which is really harder than I expected. I mean, it's fun, Originally, I did it with the goal of like meeting women, right? Meeting girls. But then it turns out like there's not many. There's not really like women that go to these ballroom dancing that I could potentially date, But now I mainly go because, I think it's an important skill and it does help me like open up a little bit, at least in terms of like non-verbal communication, right? I feel like I'm more capable now than before. But I still suck. I suck. Okay? Like, listen, I really suck. Okay, so here's a big one. I'm going to move to Virginia, Arlington, Virginia. I've already decided it. I already signed a lease. I'm going to move on May 21st. Okay? I still have so my current apartment lease ends in July, but I was like, you know what? I can't stay in Baltimore any longer. Like, I gotta get out because there's just nothing to do here. And Virginia, or at least Arlington, is close to DC. There's a lot of people, a lot of potential matches. And so it's just the right move. And, I should have moved there from New York in the first place, But yeah, this is something that I have to do. Because Baltimore is great for like families. There's if I was raising a family, I would definitely come here. It's fantastic suburbs, But in terms of like being single and trying to find someone, yeah, that's not gonna happen. The rent's only a little bit more expensive. Like literally, I'm paying like $300 more, but it's just gonna be a much better location. And it's a bigger space. So I can't wait to show you guys my new apartment once I move in. Okay, and a bunch of random activities that I tried out this month. Yoga, which, again, originally I did it with the intention of trying to meet girls. But then when I went to the yoga class, it was like all guys. I was like, are you kidding me? I mean, it's probably because of COVID, right? But yoga is it's not good. I try to do martial arts like Muay Thai and boxing. That counts as martial arts. Okay, I kind of I had to choose between martial arts and ballroom dancing. Okay, and I chose ballroom dancing because I just felt better about the ballroom dancing. I felt like ballroom dancing was like more my style. But I still want to do martial arts like Muay Thai. I think I'm gonna do it once I move to Virginia. I'll find like a gym there. I did some swimming. I shot a gun for the first time. That was fun. So I'm actually gonna apply for like the handgun license and get my own gun because I think I mean personally, I don't think people should have a gun, but given the fact that people have guns in the United States and that criminals could come, I'm gonna get one. So I got my license. Well, sorry, I got my qualification, but I still need to apply for the license and stuff. I'm not really rushing it. Okay, so what else? my all beef diet. This is a fun one. So my dieting has been really crazy over the past few months. From January to February, I was on a vegan diet. I was drinking Huel, right? No meat. And then in March, I switched to a all protein diet. So like all animal products like cheese, sausages, bacon, any meat. And that was okay. But then this month I was like, let me go hardcore all beef. So beef, if you guys don't know, is like one of the most perfect foods in terms of nutrition. It has all the nutrition you need. You don't need to eat anything else. So I literally cut out everything from my diet except for beef. So I'm having like ground beef. I'm having like, rib meat. I'm having like the cheaper cuts of steak, because I can't splurge on ribeyes. Yeah, and then like I go to McDonald's or Burger King, and then I order like the burgers without anything but the meat. Okay, and they're always like really confused, but that's okay. And it works. I think it works. It's a good diet, So going to the gym, obviously, it helps with going to the gym. Helps me lose weight. I almost have a 6-pack now. Almost. I thought I was gonna get it by now, but it's really hard, especially for me. I have a bad knee, so I can't do proper squats. Oh yeah, I really used a lot of slow cooker like this month, because the easiest, let me tell you guys, the best thing to do is buy like the cheapest cut of meat at the supermarket, wherever, or the butcher, right? Buy the cheapest meat, throw it into the slow cooker, let it go for like 12 hours or however long it needs. And then once it's done, throw it into the air fryer and then fry it. It always comes out so good. And even if it's like a really cheap cut of meat, it's gonna come out tasty amazing. Okay. Okay. My 6-pack progress. So I don't really have 6-pack yet. I try to take some pictures. It's not there yet. You can see like a sliver of the 6-pack coming out. But I mean, I'm still a lot skinnier than I was, a month ago. But it's not there yet. So what I did do this month is I did take a lot of pictures. And I'm gonna show you guys. Okay. I did take a lot of pictures for my eventual return to Tinder and Hinge. Okay, once I get my 6-pack, I'm gonna go back onto those dating apps and try to meet women that way. But I'm gonna show you guys some pictures I took. So I'm very proud of this picture. This one is, this one is, the lighting is just so nice. Oh man, it looks photoshopped, right? But it's not. Like, it's actually a real picture, and my skin just looks so nice in that. Yeah, so that was a good picture. And similar one here. It's just like a more candid shot, I guess. This is a good one. Honestly, I don't know what I was thinking when I was taking that picture, but it looks, I look like a model. Like I'm looking like I'm modeling for something, but like my expression is not like, it's not like creepy, it's cool, right? It's mysterious. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And I tried out some new fashion. So, I got like this white and black sweatshirt, which is kind of cool, because I was in the mall, right? So I was in the mall doing pickup, so obviously I was gonna just buy some clothes at the same time, right? Otherwise people would be like, the hell, that guy's been walking around like without a shopping bag, what the hell is wrong with him? Anyways, I bought some clothes. Yeah, some new styles. Here's another one. So if you guys see my pants, there are these things called combat joggers, which looks really cool. I'm telling you, it's a nice street style. It would have been really good for New York City when I was living there, but of course during that time I was wearing office clothing like a bum. Okay. This one, yeah, it's not bad. This one, I don't know like if it's good or not. I just like the fact that I don't look like a typical, like my usual nice guy self, I actually look kind of cool, like emo. I don't know. It's okay. Uh, I don't know what I was thinking in this picture. The lighting is a little off, but I think it's kind of like it's kind of attention grabbing, right? So I don't know if it's good for Tinder. I don't know. I made some friends. I'm not gonna zoom out into this picture. This is a good selfie I took. I really like the lighting here. The lighting here is it's just a nice selfie. Yeah. So cool. That's enough for my pictures. And then let's go back to the list. Okay. So that concludes my updates for all the things I did. But the thing is, all the stuff above is actually not what I spend the most amount of time on. I actually spend the most amount of time on my music during this month. Okay. So I have been busy recording my album. If you guys, for those of you who have followed me for a while, you guys will know that I released and then unpublished and then released and then unpublished my album like 4 times already, like literally 4 times. It's because every time I recorded it, I was not happy with it at the end. But this time I resolved, I'm going to finish it for real. So I've been recording my album. It's called Musical Stories. Obviously when it comes out, all of you have to listen to it. Hopefully. So that's been my main focus. I'm almost done. I still have a few songs left, few pieces left, but I'm taking my time with it, So, and that's why I decided that I'm going to take May off as well. So another month. Okay, I'm going to take off May to finish this album and finish some other projects that I've been trying to finish up. So I recorded another skit that's similar to like the Annoying Pianists video, which I can't wait to share with you guys. But now we're gonna wait another month to show it. I've been listening to some classical music, like Stravinsky's Rite of Spring. I've been listening to Bach. I've been listening to just like music that I usually don't do, like impressionist music. I'm more of a romantic guy, right? But I've been listening to these different styles, and it has helped me a lot in terms of like, opening up my own musical understanding. I'm probably gonna do another Annoying Pianists video. I've already been storyboarding. Okay. So yeah, talking about like my own music theory discovery, right? So I've been exploring a lot of atonal music recently. So those of you in my audience who know me, I've hated on atonalism for so many years. Just hate, And but recently, or I guess ever since like February, maybe partly due to my Twitch audience, like a lot of them are composers and they all like try to get me to look into atonal music, but I've started to appreciate it more, And so I've been exploring my own style in regards to atonalism. I'm still practicing my singing and I'm practicing like storytelling, which I'll show to you guys once I come back fully. Okay. So yeah, so that's basically the end. Oh yeah, I just realized my camera was blocking, but here we go. So the plan is I'm going to take off the rest of May, because I have the move to Virginia on May 21st, right? So that move, it's going to take me out at least a few days. And then, I still need to finish up all these projects. So it doesn't really make sense to come back in May and kind of like be like half-ass about it. I think things are going pretty well. Overall, I think my main goal this month was that I wanted to do things that were meaningful. What I think is meaningful is like facing my fears, right? And actually, doing things that scare me throughout my whole life. Because for many years, I was just like this guy who always wanted to hide. I always wanted to hide in my shell. I wanted to hide at my piano where I didn't feel rejected, right? And I don't think that's the way that I want to live anymore, right? And I want to like contend with the world exposed without trying to protect myself against potential harm or danger or rejection. That doesn't mean that I'm going to start being reckless, right? It doesn't mean that I'm going to go like kayaking during a thunderstorm or like tightrope walk across the Niagara Falls, or I don't know, like try to do something really reckless, run naked on the soccer pitch in a football game. Like that's not my style. I don't want to do that. But what I mean by like scary things that are meaningful is just like things like doing pickup, which is something that I've struggled with for a long time, right? There's been so many, not so many, but like there's been many moments in my life where I was like, oh, I really want to talk to that girl, but I don't know how, right? And granted, probably wouldn't have worked out anyway. Like I think in my life at many points I was just not ready for a girlfriend. It's just like overcoming my fear of rejection, overcoming my fear of failure, that I feel like is the most meaningful thing that I could have done this month. And I really grew a lot, So it's my hope that May will also be a month of growth, right? I'm probably going to do a little bit less pickup because once I get back onto the dating apps, then I feel like, like I'm going to be honest, I'm not trying to brag, but I do get a lot of matches on the dating apps. And so I'm not really worried about trying to find like dates, right? But for me, the experience itself is more valuable than like the result, right? Because the experience of doing something that I was afraid of and being man enough, I mean, woman enough too, like woman can do it too, right? But being man enough to face rejection and not be afraid. And it's my hope that, hopefully, I have a lot of young Asian guys who are in my audience, right? They can watch this and be like, hey, Lionel can talk about doing pickup, right? Or Lionel can talk about, talking to girls and facing rejection. So why can't I do the same thing? So hopefully this will encourage. I think overall this has been a good month. I know I talked a lot today. Holy crap, it's been like 40 minutes already. But I think it's important for me to share because I want the world to know what I'm doing. Not because I want, people's attention or something, but rather because I want to be honest, right? I want myself to feel like whatever I do during this month is something that has integrity. Like it's something that I'm not ashamed of, right? It's something that I myself respect, right? So I think that's really important. And so in May, I'm going to continue to try to challenge myself. And now that I have this tattoo, oh, by the way, just a side note about tattoos, like I know my family is going to criticize me. I know my parents, they don't, like, no one in my family has a tattoo, I don't think Asians believe in those, but I think it's not a bad one, in terms of like the number of stuff I could have gotten, right? I could have gotten I could have gotten anything, but I think the word courage is like, it's a cool word, and I actually have another word that's even more special to me. And it's going to be in Chinese. And I'm not going to tell you guys what it is because I'm like one of those people who I don't like to share my plans. I like to just do it first and then share the product, But yeah, that's the plan. And I know people are going to criticize me. I know people are going to judge me. I know my fans, especially maybe some of the women, will be like, oh, you're weird. You're talking about like picking up girls. You're talking about dating. Like, what is wrong with you? I don't know. Maybe people will judge me. Go ahead. I resolved that even if I face a lot of judgment, right, I still need to do the things that are important to me. And I actually welcome it now. I welcome judgment. I welcome rejection because it will remind me that I'm not that special. I'm not the best. And I can't please everyone. I'm not going to be the Mr. Popularity and have everyone love me. And, it's just not going to happen. So yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it. It's been an update video. To all my fans, to the people on Discord, to the people on Twitch, on YouTube, I love you guys. I can't wait to come back in June when I finally have everything finished, the move finished, the album finished, and really come back and focus all my energy on creating a better content and better experience. But for now, for May, I think it's best to just take this month off as well. But when I say I take it off, I'm not going on vacation, right? I'm actually just doing a lot of stuff, doing a lot of things, like things that challenge myself, things that are meaningful, things that are important. Okay. All right. See you guys later.